Patrick can keep an eye on who's coming in at the end there. So yeah, welcome to our third webinar of the year. For people who don't know me, my name's Mark Wilson. I'm the Technical Service Manager for Globe Solutions. And these are our kind of technical offerings. And as I said last month, these are typically, these trainings are typically things that I've been quite interested in. So you're probably getting some of my bias on these training sessions. So I've done the Primeline spraying application training a few times now. So I thought it was a good thing to bring to our customers as well. So we sell a lot of the Primeline sprayers, and we get lots of issues with assembling them incorrectly and servicing incorrectly. So I thought it was best, rather than hearing it from the people at Globe, to hear from the specialists from B&G who actually manufacture and look after these products across the globe. So we'll. I guess they can introduce themselves in a second, but we've got David and Craig from Pelsis, who is the company that owns B&G now. These guys are the experts in the equipment, so you'll hear from them as part of the training. So we'll just kick off. I just want to quickly share some of the specials for next month that are coming up. So namely enough, we've actually got a special on the N520 sprayer. So we've got a bunch of these around the country, and we've reduced them by 25%. So there's a discount of 25% for next month. And just for this particular session, if there's anyone on the session that wants to take up that 25% offer, we're also offering a $100 trade-in on an old sprayer. So that can be a B&G or a Riga. We'll take either, and we can do a trade-in on the sprayer for the new one as well. So that's something we're only doing for people who are on the webinar today. The other specials we've got for this month, we've got 10% off all the Vexo range of spikes. And also we've got a kind of stepped Globe Solutions deal with any of the products from Bell. So if you spend up to $600, you get a $50 gift card. You spend $1,000, get 100. To spend $2,000, get $250, and if you spend $3,000 on any of the Bell range, you get the $400 gift card. So that will kick in tomorrow. It'll be for the whole of the month of May. So that's the kind of specials for this month. We've also, just again, we've kind of, obviously lots more customers are coming online with being able to order online, and we're also doing some work in the back end with B&G to make it easier to order some of the components online, because we know it's quite easy to order a sprayer online, but it's much more difficult to get a particular nozzle or a service kit or a particular pickup tube or a pump or something. So we're actually in the process just now, in conjunction with B&G, working on an exploded diagram that would allow people to select the parts they need online much easier than it would have been before. So it's just something else that we're trying to help. But yeah, the online obviously has been successful for us. We've been doing this for over about a year now, and it's quite interesting that lots of people order online before the branches open and after the branches close. So it's a really good sort of supplement to the bricks and mortar branches that we have around the country. So it's cool. So without further ado, I'll let Craig share his slides, and I'll let David and Craig introduce themselves.
Yeah, Craig, while you're getting your slides ready, I'll introduce myself. My name is Dave Metcalf. I am the Strategic and International Account Manager for Pelsis North America. So anything B&G, Curtis Dynafog, Burbigone, based out of Knoxville, Tennessee, here in the United States. So for those of you that don't know where Tennessee is, it's on one of the landlocked states on the eastern side of the U.S. Happy to be here, and I'm always here to help. Anybody needs anything, you can reach me through Mark or find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, no problem. Figured it out. I'm Craig Martell. I am the Northeast Technical Sales Manager for B&G Pelsis Equipment. I've been in the industry for 40 years. Got a lot of background in this, own my own business, and I've worked for 3 manufacturers. And what we're going to talk about here today is just helping you folks get a little better idea on how to maintain your equipment so it's going to last longer. So we're going to give you some of the parts and what you need to do, and then going forward, the reason behind why you need to make these changes. That building right there is our plant in Jackson, Georgia. Our sprayers are made in Jackson, Georgia. Most of our equipment does get manufactured there. There are some components that do come from other manufacturers from around the globe. Some of them do come from our sister companies that we do have. We also on the line is when you do the manufacturing, it's right there. It is semi hands-on and semi-automatic. So they do keep a close eye on how it's manufactured and they take care of things. Now, when it comes time to repair your sprayer, that's basically the toolkit you're going to be needing. With this, the one item that I want to really point out are the picks up here. These picks will come in very handy at some point as you're going through this, and we'll explain that as we move forward. But you want to make sure that you have the proper tools there. If you're doing your own repairs, I do recommend we have the towel there. Use a second towel, put all your parts on that towel. That way, as you're going through, you're doing a repair, you're removing from the towel the new parts, putting the old ones in a stack off to the side. It sounds kind of weird, but if you have somebody there and you start talking, you might lose or misplace other parts and pieces, not realize that you may be putting a used piece back on there. So have them separate, put them on a towel. They're not going to roll away. So when you're done, you should have no parts on that towel. If you're done and you've got 2 or 3 springs laying there, something's not going to work right for you because you forgot to put them back in. So please make sure that you use a towel, you put all your parts on there. When you are cleaning your equipment and doing any mechanical work, please make sure you're wearing gloves. With having the gloves on, as any label that you have is telling you when you are operating equipment, you need to be wearing gloves for application. That goes with doing chemical tank repairs because you're going to be touching parts of that do have chemical on it. Routine care and maintenance, don't leave insecticide in the tank for any long period of time. What's a long period of time? Believe it or not, just a weekend. Think about the chemical that you're putting in there. What are you doing when you put chemical in with the water? You're creating suspension. That chemical wants to adhere to the walls and to the voids and wait for the water to evaporate. That way your chemical is doing its job and it's waiting for the pest to come across it, walk through it, get a lethal dose and die. It will actually start separating, going to the walls of the sprayer the same way. And if you don't keep the chemical agitated in there, you could wind up having it where it's going to start to get really solid and crystallize along the walls. And that's going to create some problems for you because once it goes to a crystallized mode, it will not go back into solution. So if it breaks apart, it's going to get sucked up into the siphon tube. It's going to create problems for you getting the chemical to come out and working well for you. If you're going to be changing your insecticides, of course, you rinse your tank thoroughly between insecticide formulations so you're not doing any cross-contamination. Only use soap and water and a nylon brush to clean the inside of the tank, and there's some good reason for that. If you're using bleach or ammonia, bleach will actually etch the surface of the sprayer, the stainless steel sprayer, and the ammonia will get against the brass parts over time and start creating some reaction there, and it will give you some problems with those parts. So you'd want to have those parts working properly. So lukewarm water, a little bit of dish soap, and it'll work exceptionally well for you. When you do clean the bottom of your sprayer, you're going to wind up with some water that's in that corner. What you want to do is have the proper brush to get in there to make sure that you're going to get all the particles out of those corners or that edge there around the bottom of the tank. A long wire handle, but plastic or poly bristled brush is great. The reason I like to have the metal handles, when you're in there and you're cleaning around the bottom, what you want to do first and foremost is make sure you don't go real hard against the siphon tube. If you do, you could bend that. One of 2 things will happen. One, you're not going to be able to get all the chemical solution out of the tank. It's going to raise it up too far and you have too much sitting on the bottom. 2, you could actually crack the top of that siphon tube. And if you do get a big enough crack, it's going to just suck the air out of the top of the tank. It is not going to take up the whole solution. So you'll have to take it apart, rebuild it, get that siphon tube out of there, and put a correct one in there. And that will help working for you. But with that brush, as you see in the right corner there, well, that can be bent on the underside of the top of the tank. Once you have mixed your chemical in there, what do we normally do? We take the sprayer, we shake it. Well, we're actually creating a little bit of foam on the top. that foam will start adhering to the underside of the top of the tank. And if we don't get that cleaned off, it'll start drying there. It'll start to crystallize. And over time, that crystallized material will start breaking off and fall to the bottom of the tank. And what'll happen from that is it'll get stuck in the siphon tube, or as it's going through, it'll start clogging your filter at the handle. So you want to make sure that you're properly cleaning the bottom of that tank as well as the underside of the top. And that will work exceptionally well for you. But as again, please avoid hitting the siphon tube, because you do not want to crack the top of that and have a problem for you. Now, we do have a kit here for the full extension handle. I understand that most of you don't use the cable inside, but we do have a kit that's available for that does have the parts that are inside that make it work well for you. Now, with these parts that are in there, a couple of items. The springs are something that's kind of important. You want to make sure that you keep those springs updated and working very well for you. You need to repair your kit about twice a year if you're using a lot of chemical, but I recommend a minimum of once a year. But when you take those springs out, when you take the used one out and put it next to the one that is brand new, you'll notice that it'll be about a third taller. The new one will. There's a lot of pressure that creates that to start shrinking down, and it will lose the spring aspect and start being less effective, so it's not going to shut off on a regular basis. But your soft seat gasket's going to need to be checked on a regular basis. Your check valve, your pump tube, the packing washers, they start leaking, you got to replace all them. And we're going to talk about that as we go forward here. On your pumping mechanism, pump gasket, that's at the top of the tube. That does hold the pressure in the tank itself. It is a very simple seal. All you need to do when you put that top on is you just get it snugged and tighten it just a hair. You don't keep turning that forever. You start doing that, you're going to start causing damage to the gasket. It's either going to crush it too thin and it's not going to hold air at some point, or it's a layered type gasket. If you go too much, you could basically kink it, and it's going to create a void in there, and it's not going to hold all the air pressure for you, and it's going to cause you a problem down the road. Your check valve, that's at the bottom. You need to check that quite often. There is a very small hole at the top of the pump handle right in here. There's an air hole that allows excess air to get down in. And if you happen to have any small particles in the area, they could go down through, get past the plunger cup, and wind up stuck in this gasket. So make sure that you check that in the bottom and make sure that that check valve is perfectly smooth. If there happens to be something there, very carefully peel it down, take that whatever material stuck in there, and it should seal right back up for you. But be very careful, because the brass on the bottom is very soft metal. Don't get in there with a hard piece of metal and start digging around. You'll cause big cavities in there, and it's not going to seal up properly when you're done. Strokes of the plunger cup, they are constantly going around, so you have to check that on a regular basis as well. Make sure that you have no problems with it. If it starts to get dry, put a little bit of grease on there. Now, when you do get her kit, there is a little package of grease that's in there. There's enough grease to grease that plunger cup at least twice, maybe even 3 times. So what you want to do is make sure that you have the proper material there, so you can get the right amount of grease in there. It's going to hold air and keep air and allow that to slide up and down with ease. You just want to make sure that you're taking care of it properly. Pump gasket, check valve. Okay, they are used all the time as you're closing and opening and closing the pump tube. You're causing some pressure onto that pump tube gasket, but then the check valve, every time you're pumping, you're causing an action there. That action is wearing out that, and over time it will wear down the check valve, and you want to keep a good eye on it to make sure that it's not cupping the wrong direction. And if it starts to cup the other direction, you want to replace it as soon as you can. There has been some minor issues in different areas, that there's been some longitudinal cracks popping up in the brass tubes. Not exactly sure what's been causing that. And with that, it could start having chemical get back into the tube. So when you start pulling up, you start getting liquid coming up with it. Check your plunger tube. Now that's an extreme crack right there. If you start having some little issues, or you're losing a little bit of air pressure, you've changed your your gaskets on the top of the plunger tube. Take it out, go in the sunshine, and slowly turn that tube. You'll find a very fine hairline crack very, very quickly in the sunshine. And if that is the case, just replace the plunger tube. Now, we do make a stainless steel one. If you're concerned about it happening again, just replace it with a stainless steel plunger tube, and that'll take up that issue. The plunger tube, the brass tubes are made with the same material. That's the recipe we've used forever since this unit has been manufactured. It is a chemical resistant brass, and it holds up against solvents and insecticides. Replace your pump tube gasket when it's cracked or swollen. And if you look at it closely, it's kind of porous in there. And if you really tighten it too hard, you will create that to move, and it'll create a little bit of a kink, and it'll raise or lower parts of that, and it will create an atmosphere to where it's not going to seal up that air from getting in or out. So you want to make sure you keep this looking very well. And if it starts to swell up for any reason, replace it immediately. Check valve. Check valve is a neat little piece. It is not the easiest thing in the world to get back on, but you can get it back on. It takes a little bit of a pressure to go on there, but I want to really stress one thing here. You want to use a nylon bristled brush. If you look at the bottom of that plunger tube, it looks like there's real fine scratches on there. That's from the buffing wheel that buffs out that tube. And if the buffing wheel is doing that, just imagine what a wire bristle brush or one of those green or brown 3M scratch pads will do. It'll create a very deep valley, a crevice in there, and that will never seal up again. So you want to make sure that you are cleaning this with just a soft bristled brush, lukewarm water, a little dish soap. It'll clean right up, rinse it off. You're good to go. It's going to work very well for you. Now this has been around just a day or two. You can see how the bottom of the gasket has just sort of cupped the wrong direction. But if you look at that second arrow, it looks like there's a little flat spot on there. How that tube is manufactured, that bottom plate is pushed into the tube and it's brazed together. If you happen to catch the edge of that tube, plunger tube, on the edge of it, or the tailgate of a truck or the side of a van door as you're trying to do your chemical, if you hit it too hard, you could actually cause the braze along that area to crack. And if that does crack, you could at some point have leakage of liquid getting back into the plunger tube, and then hence giving you some problems with chemical coming out the top. So if you do have it, check the gasket first. If that's cupped the wrong direction, replace it. But if you have a pretty big dent in the bottom, look at it closely. If you wipe it, you can see if there's a crack in that braze. At that point, you're going to have to replace the plunger tube. But if you look carefully on the underside of the cap, where the handle is, there's rusting, surface rust that is built up in there. That will sometimes break off and go down through the plunger cup and come out the bottom and get stuck in the bottom seal. What you want to try to do is look at it every time you're in there. Always clean that down. Just brush it down, and what it does is take any extra particles that are there, it cleans them off. That is part of the cleaning and maintenance that you need to do on a regular basis. So please, when you clean it, clean the underside of that, and it'll work out very well for you. The plunger cup. Technically, you can replace it every 2 years, but if you happen to get the kit that we put together, and I believe the folks, Mark, you said you folks had a kit that you're putting together. If this is in there and it's got the cup and it's got the plunger plate in there, if you're taking that all apart, don't put the used one back on. The new one's there, just put it back on. But what you want to do is take like a Ziploc baggie and put the plunger cup and that plate in it, date it, and put it in the glove box of your vehicle. This way, if it's got a little bit of grease on there, it's in a sealed bag, it'll still be protected. That way, if you happen to take this apart and you're out in the field working somewhere, and for some reason you happen to drop this and it cracks that plunger cup, you'll have one in the vehicle that can get you through the rest of the day. Otherwise, depending on how far you are from the office, you might be done for the day. You don't want to do that. So just keep one in the glove box, and every time you replenish the one that's in the tube, take out the one in the glove box, throw it out, put the one that you just replaced, put it in the glove box in another baggie. And that should help out with any type of field repairs you need to do. If you happen to have an older unit and it has this semi-transparent plunger cup, please throw it out, get a new one. We haven't had those in like 9 or 10 years. And if they are working, they're probably not working very well. You're pumping like mad, just not getting a lot of really good pressure. That's part of the issue that you have there. Replace the pump spring lock. Now, how do you tell if that's giving you a problem? If you have that locked in place and you're going around and you're spraying and you happen to catch a piece of a rack or something in a warehouse, and all of a sudden your spray tank just drops to the end of that rod real fast, well, that's telling you that that spring right there is not working properly. You need to replace it. It's just lost its spring. It's just been crushed down too much. So what you do to replace it is you take the bottom nut off, take the cup plate off, the plunger cup, and as you're going up through, take the top nut off. This will all slide straight up. Take the old spring off, put the new one on, and just reverse what you've done. Put the top nut on, then put a new plunger cup and plunger plate on there, and then tighten everything back down. You're good to go. Now, the tube that comes with that of grease, you grease it up, make sure it's going to work well for you. You just run it around the inside of the top of the tube, and that'll give you enough grease. There's enough in that tube to grease it at least twice, as I had said. So don't throw that out or throw it all in there at one time. You'll just wind up with a whole bunch of a glop mess at the bottom of the tube, and it's just not helping you out. If you happen to break the handle, we do replace it. It does come as a comfort handle on the replacement. But it does need, occasionally you may need to replace it. If you do, just order it, just get it replaced and move forward. But your tank hose, this is one area that unfortunately I see a lot of folks that just don't take the proper time to repair or replace. If your hose happens to have any type of a crack, or if it's damaged, or if the outer casing is just that worn, you're starting to see the corded thread underneath, please replace it. Because as you pump that up, when it's fully pumped up, you've got around 30, 35 PSI in there. If that hose happens to break on you, how fast can you take that pressure off? And if it's not that quick and you're in somebody's hardwood floor over top of an oriental rug and it soaks it, you've now got a contaminated surface you're going to have to deal with. So do check it on a regular basis, and if you need to, please just change it. If you're using a no extension or a 9-inch extension, you're going to have some extra hose. Just coil it around the top of the handle as you have it in the back of your vehicle. That way, if there's anything that's in there that happens to be rattling around, it's not going to go against the hose against the side of the tank and create some type of a fracture or crack in it. Or better yet, if you happen to have a 5-gallon pail, just put your sprayer in that pail. So that way, if there is something that does leak, it'll leak into the bucket, not all over the back of the truck or out on the ground. It's the last thing you need to have happen. When you do replace it, make sure you use Teflon tape. That will take up the little bit of room that's in the threads. Brass is a good material. It is a little softer. It does move, but it could create a void in there. So a little bit of thread tape will help take any of that area up. When it comes time to replace the gasket that's at the bottom of the hose, yes, there is one there. Yes, it does need to be replaced. You need to take that double male studded thread and use 2 wrenches on that and the hose, or you're going to create a problem. You put a wrench at the bottom where the red arrow is. When you're holding that in place, the wrench on the top for the hose, you crank to your hand, and that's how you tighten it down. How tight do you make it? When that hose is out, you think that's a swivel piece that's on there. Technically, it's swiveled there. It is not supposed to swivel. Once you tighten it down, it completes the connection and it holds it tight in place. You tighten it just enough to where you can't turn that hose. You are now tight enough. Don't go any tighter. Now, if you only use 1 wrench there, what's going to happen as you're tightening the hose, that stud is going to slowly turn a little bit each time you turn the hose. Eventually, you'll start stripping out the brass threads on the steel, and or you will shear off the siphon tube. You'll all of a sudden hear a clink inside the tank. And if that happens, well, You just over tightened it. Now you got to go get a siphon tube and put it in. So please use a second wrench, put it on the base or on that double male stud, hold it tight and tighten to the wrench or break away from the wrench. And that is the way to make this work without causing any further damage. When it comes time to check your screens, and hopefully you're checking them on a regular basis. If you're using wettable powder, I recommend that you check them at the end of every day. If you're using an EC, once a week. You just want to make sure there's nothing building up in there. But when you do put it on there, there's the closed end that needs to go towards the hose. Now it is beveled as material comes down through. Sometimes you have, looks like frog's eggs. Sometimes it'll start solidifying. As that hits that beveled top, it breaks it up and it goes through the screen, comes out the end. Now, if you happen to turn it the other way and you put the closed end in towards the valve, you've got it pumped up and you squeeze the handle, it's just going to shove that into the handle. It's going to shut off your flow. And you'll need to have needle nose pliers to make sure you can get it out. But it will stick it right up in the handle. Doing it 40 years, been in pest control 40 years. I did it doing a rebuild class about a month ago. So if you're talking with somebody, it's very easy to switch that the wrong direction. Just got to make sure you have the proper tools so you can get it out so you don't cause further damage. The one on the top is basically from an EC material. It's just never been cleaned, and that's what'll happen over time. But then you get some of that surface rust. If that starts breaking out, it's going to start clogging your tips. But that bottom one, that's just wettable powder that somebody hadn't checked in a short window of time, and it's almost like concrete. Once it gets to that certain solid aspect, it's just going to shut off the flow of material. So please, for the wettable powders, make sure you check them on a regular basis. It's very important to make sure you're not cutting off the proper water flow. But on the one on the top, just clean it. And if you need to, they are parts available. Replace it as needed. But please don't take it out and just go without it. What'll happen is you'll start clogging the tips very quickly. That screen is there to make sure that you don't clog your tips. When you do clean it, please use a nylon bristled brush. Now, some of you are using the full length with a cable in it, but I believe most of you are not. So in the handle, we're going to talk about the parts that are here in this handle, and then the parts that shut off in the end. And then I'm going to show you the handle that you folks are using. So there is a difference. We just want you to understand it. If you happen to have a little bit of leaking and your gloves are getting wet, that stainless steel nut there, only turn it 1/4 turn to shut off the leaking. If it still continues to leak, stop at that point. Something's not right. You want to take it apart. And I'll explain a little more in just a second with the next. Well, this slide here, the 2 stubby screwdrivers, one on either side, breaks the handle right away. Why 2 stubbies? Law of physics. You have a long shaft on one side, short shaft on the other side, unequal pressure, you'll stick your hand. And I've got a couple of scars to prove it. So use 2 stubby screwdrivers to get that apart. But on the stainless nut here, as it's going into this, you're going to have your 3 gaskets in there. And as you're tightening, you're going to create pressure. It's going to start shutting it off. But if you go too hard, you could possibly snap the brass up in here, and it's going to cause this to strip out. At that point, you got to buy a whole new handle, and that's not a cheap handle. So you want to make sure that you are doing it properly. Now, the packing washers that we're looking at looks like beveled donuts. Well, that's designed that way because as you're going in, they're going to start flattening out. And as it flattens out, those bevels will go outward and it'll create the seal in the walls of the handle itself. Now, there is a point that if you keep turning, this is why we say only go a 1/4 of a turn once you get the initial pressure on it and it's working. If you keep going, there is a finite aspect of these. What'll happen is once these bevels right in here go totally flat, there is no place for these sidewalls to go. So what will happen is the interior part could fracture and it'll lock onto that metal shaft. And once it locks onto that shaft, it is extremely difficult to get that out and try to replace that. If you're using a cable, you may have to replace the cable. It'll be a lot easier. On the other handle, and I'll show you in a moment, there's just a solid rod in there. You might be able to get those to come off of the solid rod. If comes time to take these out, the first one, you can take a screwdriver, whether it be a flathead or a Phillips head, just get in there, get into the plastic a little bit, and just unscrew it. It'll come right out. The second one, the same way. Third one, you want to make sure you're not hitting the brass at the bottom. So what you want to do if it's not working, this is where you'd find those 3 little picks I told you about. Just get one of them that's going to work well for you. Just go around and take it off. Now, this will be the one piece that's going to test your patience a little bit. It's either going to come out fairly easy, relatively quick, or it's going to be in there for a while and you're going to have to really work at it to get it out. But that will be the one part that'll be kind of challenging for you. So just be prepared that you might run into that. At the end of the tip, where the spray tip is, you've got the nozzle gasket. Now, when you go to change your tip or you go to clean it out, what happens to that little tip gasket? That thing just falls off, it vaporizes. I don't think it ever hits the ground. It gets wings and just disappears. What you want to make sure is you have 1 or 2 in a glove box and a Ziploc bag so you know where to have them and where they're at. If you happen to lose one in the field, you can't spray without it. So you want to make sure that you are properly putting another one in there. It's going to lock in place correctly and give you a good seal. But please make sure that you are careful that when you do take it out. Now, the flat side of the gasket, when you take this apart, if you're using the full length with the cable, there's a lot of pressure on that. When it comes time to take this off, use 2 wrenches on the end because we've put a little bit of pressure on there when we bent that. You don't want to cause that to fracture. You put one on here and you break or loose from here. Then when you take it apart, the gasket, the soft seat gasket, you take it out, you look at it. If need be, you replace it. And then make sure you have the flat side towards the tip. Same goes for the one without the cable in there. Same concept. That tip comes off, soft seat gasket comes out, it goes against that beveled nut. You just want to put it back to where the seal is against the bevel nut, and that'll work very fine going back together for you. We talked about that, so we'll move along on this one. This is the handle, how it would look and how it would come apart, that if you don't have the cable. It's just at number 19 is just a solid rod. And that's basically the only difference, other than their spring 18 is in this handle. For the one that does not have a cable, if it has a cable, that spring is on the other end of the tip. So if you have both sprayers, the spring will be in 2 different spots. But same concept. Once you take it apart, it's easy to clean, easy to take care of, easy to put back together. Just do your due diligence and go through, clean it appropriately, and take care of it, and it will last you a long time. If you don't, and you leave material in there for over winter, and then you go back because you forgot to take care of it and clean it out, you could wind up with something that looks like this. That's not going to give you a serviceable piece of equipment. At that point, you're better off just replacing the extension or the handle. It's too far gone to get a good repair to that. On the end, I'll go over this kind of quick because a few of you do use this. The valve spring is on the end of it, not in the handle. This is where it would be on the other end. What you'd want to do is take the lock nut number 1 out and the seat nut number 2. When that comes off, take the spring out, put the new spring in, put lock nut back on, put the soft seat nut back on. But when you do put it back on, if you have the brass nut, you need to leave 4 threads. If you only leave 3, when you start to pump it up, that soft seat stem's not long enough at that point. There's not enough pressure to shut it off with a gasket. If you have 5 or 6 threads there, it's too long and you can't pull it off, and it's just not going to open up and release. On the other end, when it's on the just the handle part, you don't have this kind of an issue to have to really deal with. So what you do is just make sure that it's in the same place when you replace it as you had taken it apart, and it'll work fine for you. Maintenance schedule. I can't tell you what to do with that. You folks have your own routes, your own area, what kind of work you do. You work with your supervisors. That's between the technician and the supervisor. basic recommendation, minimum once a year. If you're doing a lot of spraying, twice a year. But I understand that you guys are just coming off your season, you're getting ready for the downtime of year. Now's the time to go through, clean them up, get some tags. If you're only gonna do, if you carry 2 sprayers or 3 sprayers, but during the winter you only need 1, then take the other 2 out of service, clean them, replace them, repair them, and then put a tag on it, the date, who's there, who did the work, and then it's ready to go back out. That way you know it's all done. You just go back to season, put a little water in it, test it, and just move on and get back to work. But the scheduling aspect, that is up to you folks, because you're in different parts of the country over there. You're gonna have, the northern folks are gonna have more use of that material year round, to where the guys on the south side are gonna have less use year round. So you just have to work with how you're working your materials and take care of it. Now, we've gone through some of the parts, what it takes to put this to take it apart and put it back together. I'm gonna get into a little bit of different aspect. I'm gonna show you why you need to do it. There is a little method behind our madness on this. These are just a few numbers that just show you how much action your parts get as you're operating every day. And that's a lot of actions as you're going through there. And that's just based on 2 tank fills a day. Some people may only use 1 tank or a half a tank. I have one gentleman that I talked to recently that does 3 tanks a day. It just depends on the type of work that you're doing. But you are getting a lot of material that's in there. Your nozzle. Think of 350 gallons. That's kind of an important number. And as I go through, I'll explain it a little bit better. If you have a tip that looks like that, that's telling me that you folks are getting a little lazy and you're just trying to reach behind the stove or refrigerator or hard to reach place to try to pull out the multi-catch unit, the snap traps, or your bait stations that are just out of sight, or you just can't reach them. That is going to create a lot of problems for you. You're not going to get a proper flow and a proper application of your chemical. We had done some work with Virginia Tech, and what they had done is taken tips that were used from 3 months to 36 months, and they brought them back and they just wanted to do a test on it. Because if you think about, well, here is earth science, there's nothing greater than the force of water than water itself, unless it's frozen. What that means with brass is if you're running 350 gallons of water, just water alone, through a tip, at 350 gallons, that tip has expanded by 10%. 10% of that opening has just washed away because it's a soft metal, and it'll expand as time goes on. But with these tips that were here, averaged out, there was an average increase of flow of 14%. Now, if you're mixing chemical to go to an application of X, let's say you're treating for fleas or something like that, you have to do so much chemical per 1,000 square foot. While you're squeezing, you've done what you think you've done properly, but in actuality, you've added 14% more material out there than you needed to. Okay, for flow, just to give you a quick idea how this we came up with this. On a fan, coarse fan spray, it'll increase by about 10% from normal use. That's an additional 1.7 ounces per minute of spray time. Consider just something hypothetical. First, if you are filling your tanks, those little dashes on your tank is exactly where your full tank is. So make sure you're using that appropriately. Just to throw this out there, if you have 8 accounts and you're spraying an extra 30 seconds at each account, that'll result in approximately a half a gallon of insecticide every day that you're over applying. Now, I'll do a little bit of math on that. At 1.7 ounces, it comes out to 68 ounces. We just dropped it back to 64 for quick math. That is an additional half a gallon of spray is wasted on a work day. That's 10 gallons a month, 120 gallons a year per tech. That's at 10%. If you continue, that will expand even more than that. That is an awful lot of chemical that you're putting out there that you're no longer gaining your money back on. So you're just wasting chemical at that point. So you want to maintain your equipment appropriately. The tip on the left is brand new. The one on the right has got a little bit of time on that. It's actually a 22% increase of flow rate. You notice how on the edges, it's almost the same as the edges of the brand new one. The wear and tear is in the middle because that's where the most fluid's going to come out. That's where the most friction is at. That's where you're going to have your widest opening. So if you are doing an overlay spray on a floor or something for fleas or other pests that you apply like that, you actually may not be getting a very good pattern. You might have a lot in the middle and nothing in between. And how's that going to properly take care of the pests that you're going after? It may not give you the protection you're looking to get. Just another quick example. In 64 work days, that was an increase, percentage of increase after 320 gallons. They wound up with 11.8% increase. It just depends on the material that's on there and what they're using. You can calibrate your units. We do recommend that you calibrate it as soon as you get it, just so you understand what your flow rate is. It's easy to do. Just get a graduated beaker of some type. And what you do is you just fill it up to either go by time or by measurement. Here we did it by measurement. It took 1 minute to get 17 ounces of material. If we went back 2 months later, and it took 53 seconds to get the same amount, that's a 15% wear. That means there's excess material leaving that sprayer. 2 months after that, there's a 25% loss. So you're really starting to put an awful lot of material out there that you're just not going to gain back. Think about it if you're a company owner or if you're a supervisor. That goes against your bottom line. That is excess chemical that you're just giving away and you're not recouping on the backside. So please make sure that you do calibrate appropriately. If you're going by the dimensions, if you're just going with 12 ounces, took 45 seconds on a new tip. What you want to do is check it again after a couple of months. If it's 40 seconds, you got 10%, 35 is 20%. So please replace it about every 350 gallons. If you're using a wettable powder, that will expand a lot faster. It's about 270, 275 gallons, and you need to replace it or you're going to start wearing it out. If you are going through and you're working on your sprayer and you've got a problem, and we've all run into this, to where it starts clogging it, please don't go in there with a paper clip or these other devices, because if you're going in, you're digging around, you're creating a larger opening. Have a soft bristle brush around, tap it on the tailgate of your truck on the flat side, loosen it up, take the soft bristle brush and clean down through it, and that should help you open it up and make it easier for you. Or if you happen to have a small can of air, came out years ago to clean keyboards and stuff. They're handy to have around. Quick blast of air in there will also do the same thing. When you do get a new sprayer from us, it does come with an instruction sheet. I do recommend that you read through it. It'll give you some really neat ideas. There's even troubleshooting ideas. Online, we do have a chart here, but Mark does have a better chart that you folks are using for over there, and it's an interactive one. It's a very good one. If you happen to get into any of the foamers that we do have, we have an XR valve, and I just want to very quickly show that to you. That will be on the Versafoamer HH, the 1 gallon foam unit. Very simple repair kit, just a few items that are in there. The handle is the actual, that's everything. When you take that out, that's what you're going to be repairing or replacing. The copper gasket is the one thing that is not in the kit. Please don't lose that. And that's what we had on this end. Does anybody have any questions? Please bring it up. We take any questions that you have, anything we can do to help. I do know Mark has some items that he can help you with when it comes to parts and pieces. Mark, do you actually do the repairs there? I think you said you do.
We do, yeah. We'll do repairs. We obviously encourage people to repair themselves, but if they don't want to repair it, we're happy to do the repairs in the branches as well. So we do that. There's just one more thing. Do you have any slides on the pump top, Craig?
I've
got something I can share if you want to talk to that. If I can share just my screen.
Yes, would you please?
Yep. Just give me 2 seconds. Yep. So yeah, just obviously we've introduced the pump top about a year ago and they've been very successful. It's probably for us, it's been the only piece of equipment that we've ever launched that we haven't been had to repair over, generally equipment we generally get back for repair. But this piece of equipment's been fantastic. We'd literally have not had any of these back. So I mean, I can talk about this unit, but you guys know this best. You developed it, so if you guys can give us a quick rundown on the pump tops.
Absolutely. The pressurized tank top that is there is designed to replace the hand pump. But please, if you do get one, keep the hand pump in a Ziploc bag in the vehicle somewhere, just in case this stops for some reason. You want to be able to keep working. But you put it on your sprayer, you turn it on. Once you have it fully charged, it'll take about 3 minutes on the initial, once you fill the tank, to get up to pressure. What's pressure? It shuts off at around 31, 32 psi. And when you get down to about 24 psi, it kicks back on. So you can keep spraying and it works very well. It'll keep up. You charge it once, you should be able to get through a better part of a week at about 25 to 30 gallons on a charge. And it does come with two chargers. There's one for the vehicle and there's one for your wall. So you can charge it at home. You can charge it in your vehicle between, if you have a lot of time between stops and you feel you need to. It also comes with a little cap. So if you don't want to take the whole tank in the house, you can take the top off, put a cap on the chemical to keep it in there, take the tank inside, the PTT inside, charge it. Just remember it the next morning. You don't want to get to the first stop and not have it. But it is a great unit. It does work exceptionally well. And as Mark had said, we've had no issues with it coming back. I've had one unit that did come back, happened to be a small issue with the battery. But it's been a great top and it works very, very well. I tested it here. I was kind of skeptical when we first got it. And I just sprayed water out in the yard, one full tank, and it kept up with it. And it never let down. It never ran out of pressure. It did stay with it. It is a very nice device.
Yeah. These have been.
Just a quick note, if you do have a sprayer with a third port, there are some of those out there that do have a third port. That third port is either for a pressure release valve or a pressure gauge. We do have an adapter that will allow proper fit on that PTT with that third port. So just let Mark know and I can get him some of those.
Yeah. That's fine. Yeah, it's been quite successful. We tested it ourselves last year, and we were getting around about 100 litres out of charge. So that's pretty close to the stated 30 odd gallons for that. So it's good.
Okay.
I guess that's probably one of the only complaints we've had is people the charge lasts too long. So you just get to a point where you think it's never going to go flat, and then one day it will on you. So that's one of the biggest complaints. But yeah, fantastic piece of kit. I think the interesting thing for me was we actually had a customer recently where they wanted the standard green top sprayer, but they wanted a pressure valves, pressure gauges included. So we had them modified locally, custom made locally. And it was interesting that for years I've been over pumping the sprayer. I've been over pumping my green sprayer because my kind of last push of the sprayer has been like my full weight on it and lock it. And I only learned that when I put these pressure valves on, that's actually about 60 psi, not 30 psi. So these electric units just keep you in the sweet spot. They keep you between sort of 26 and 32 psi, which is just the sweet spot for most of the nozzles that we use in pest control. So it's a really good unit. And I know a lot of guys have moved to small plastic sprayers and things for internals, electric ones, but I just think having a B&G looks more professional. You look like a professional using a unit like that, but it also gives you the luxury of having it electric as well. So I think it fits most things. So it's good. So yeah, we've got those in stock across the country as well.
Yep. Just one extra note. It is a chemical resistant cast aluminum on the interior, but do rinse those out when you are bring them in the house.
Yep, no, that's cool. Any questions on the chat there, Patrick?
No, we had one question which I answered earlier, which was we'll send the presentation at the end of the meeting. It'll just be a YouTube link that we'll send through. So
yep, once it's cut and pasted, that's cool. That's cool. And people's mics are open as well. If you want to make comment or ask any questions of the guys, they're here for your benefit. sharing. There's usually a question from someone.
I must have been that good.
Very comprehensive. Is that a question or comment, Patrick? You just popped in there. I guess the one question I've got is probably from to Craig is probably, what is your tip of getting that check valve in?
I'm sorry.
What is your tip for getting the check valve in the bottom of the plunger?
I always find that if I try to get it warmed up just a little bit,
Okay.
Put in a little hot water or something, like from a teapot or something, let it
Yep.
soak in that for just a little bit, and then just pop it right in. I just bend the edges a little bit and just work it in, just pop it in.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay. No, I was thinking of that yesterday because I was fighting with one yesterday afternoon, so I thought I must ask Craig how to do that.
Yeah,
So,
I'll usually push it in from the side a little bit and twist it.
Yep.
Spin it as you go in.
Yeah.
Now,
Cool.
if you're really good, like I have a really fine set of electronic screwdrivers, and I'll have a flat blade. If I just don't have hot water around, I'll take the flat blade,
Feed it in.
slowly work it around, and it will
Yep.
pop in that way. But if you're too rough, too quick,
You'll
you
damage
could
it.
slice it. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yep. And that's cool. That's cool. Yep, that's fine. The other question I had for the guys yesterday was that I had to change the base of a tank the other day. So we had a customer with a plastic base, and I had to swap the damaged base out, and it was kind of a bit of a struggle to get that base in. So maybe Craig can talk to that as well.
yeah, there's two ways that you can go with that. You can take a hair dryer, 45-degree angle, and warm the base up, or just put it into a bucket of hot water and let it warm up, because it'll just dry out and then just pop it right on.
Yep.
It does need to have a little bit of heat so it moves the plastic a little bit.
Yep.
But yes, you can pop it right on with that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I've just been using brute force, and that does not work. So
No, it
That's
makes
cool.
it look a little ugly. I did that at a trade show, and it was with a pink one, no less. And it really, one backside was just all white. It does turn it different colors. So
yeah,
you want to do your due diligence and use heat, make it work right.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That makes sense. That was I had to redo
Just
that
got a
one.
question from the chat. They're just Mick was just asking if you can get a PDF version of that presentation, so you can share with his team, if that's possible.
You're welcome to share that, Mark. You have a copy of the
Sure.
PDF.
Yep, I've got
You
a
are
copy of
welcome
that.
to send it to them if they would like to have that.
Yep, that's cool.
Brilliant.
You know, anybody else wants to do that, stick in the chat or send an email. We can do that for you as well. That's cool. No problems. All good. Well, we're doing well for time this morning. That's good. Any other questions? I think people's mics are open, aren't they? Patrick, if they want to open the mics, they can open them. Yep.
Yes, so they can just unmute themselves.
No problems.
There we go.
That's cool.
Yeah, sometimes when you're doing a big classroom, you'll have a whole bunch of people talking back and forth, and there's not enough time at that point when you're in front of people, because everybody, as you're showing them, they say, well, what about this? So don't be afraid to ask anything, folks. We're here to answer it.
Is there anyone on the call that's actually using the PPTs at the moment and found them helpful? No, just wondered. That's cool. No problems. Well, I think there's a couple of people in the chat there just looking for that presentation as well, so we can facilitate that through myself and Patrick. That's cool. No problems. That's fine. Well, thank you. Thanks, Craig and David, for your time today. That's been fantastic. If there's any other questions, as usual, I will pester you guys as I do often. So if there's anything we need to know, we'll let you know. But yeah, thanks for your time today. It's great just getting that information directly from you guys. So again, thanks again for your time, and we can close up the event for now. Awesome.
No problem. I will. I appreciate you having us. I will also put a link to our YouTube page for some additional B&G trainings. If anybody wants to check it out, feel free. There's a lot of good information on there.
That's great. Yep, I'll ask Patrick to distribute that as well for us to the people that have registered. So that's cool.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate
Awesome
the
stuff.
opportunity.
Yeah, no
Thank
worries,
you,
guys.
guys.
Thanks again.